The Honest Look series continues. Taking a look at a lot of different programs. We're going to continue to take a look at a lot of different programs. I think we need to take an honest look at the Auburn Tigers. Last year, it was frustrating, to put it lightly. I mean, you talk about what you had hoped your season would be. It got off to a rocky start. You fire Brian Harsin, you make a bowl game. Help is on the way. Hugh Freeze is a guy who is obviously going to be your head coach, knows how to win in the SEC, recruit in the SEC, and guess what? He's beat Nick Saban. Not a lot of folks can say that same thing. It's a pretty impressive credential to have. We move forward. Right now, the roster at Auburn is under construction. In 2021, you had the 21st ranked recruiting class, 8th in the SEC. In 2022, the 16th best recruiting class, 6th in the SEC. Having a top 25 recruiting class, a lot of schools will be happy with. The issue is who you're finishing behind in the SEC just continues to hurt Auburn. That's great that you had the top 17 class. You had a number 16 class. That's great, but you're behind insert school here. A&M, Alabama, Georgia, like all the schools that you're going to have to play on a somewhat consistent basis, you are behind on the roster from a talent standpoint. And Hugh Freeze, in my opinion, and so far understands it's a talent acquisition game, especially in the SEC. Right now, at the time of us being live, they have the number 2 transfer portal class, according to the On3 team portal rankings. And taken 12 transfers, 6 of them on the offensive or defensive line, so they're building the trenches. But the reason why this is so important in the SEC is because everybody's got dudes. Like, no knock on the Big Ten West, but in the Big Ten West, you all are recruiting right around 3 or 4 stars, maybe some, maybe the occasional 5-star. You all have virtually the same caliber of football player. In the SEC, everyone's got 5 stars. Everyone's got big dogs that can eat and like to eat greedy. Auburn has not had as many of those. So they're going to the portal to go and rev that engine, to go and rebuild quick, fast, in a hurry, because now you can do it with the portal. Now you don't have to wait 3 or 4 cycles to get all your guys in. You still want to build at the high school level, but if you can revamp through the portal, that's key. That's key, and that's going to be key to Auburn's success in 2023. So expect them to continue to be active as this second wave of portal activity opens up. I really do think we're going to see Auburn continue to go on offense there. Offense, no pun intended. I think the offensive line will be a big point of emphasis for them as the transfer portal continues to sort of process, as we see more guys jump in the portal post-spring. I think that'll be a place that Auburn continues to look. So keep an eye on that. You say, why need to have the offensive line in shape? Well, the quarterback position, for me at least, is very curious. Talk about that in a second. If you're not yet subscribed, would love to have y'all here. Okay? One of my buddies hit me up and said, we need to see an Auburn honest look. I said, okay, we're making it happen. It's y'all's show. DM me, at me on Twitter, whatever it is. We want to do more of what you want to see. We can do that even better if you're subscribed. So thank you in advance for that. Also, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JDPakel. Like I said, I'm a little bit curious about the quarterback position at Auburn. Robby Ashford is likely going to be the guy going into next year unless you get a transfer. We'll talk about that in a second. 2022 numbers for Robby Ashford leave something to be desired. 7 touchdowns passing, 7 rushing, 7 interceptions, 49% completion percentage. That's troubling to me. That shows me that you're not consistently accurate with the football. Just kind of the way that I'm looking at it here. The staff really likes him, though. Hugh Freeze, a quarterback whisperer, has a track record of being successful with quarterbacks with a skill set like Robby Ashford, kind of that dual threat, that slasher. He's shown he knows how to work with that. And like I said, all the buzz coming out of Auburn, Alabama is that they feel good about him. So how much of a leap can he take under Hugh Freeze? How much more can you get out of Robby Ashford? Because I don't think it's fair to make a judgment call on Robby Ashford from a small sample size of 1 year under what was just a dumpster fire of a season. Like, they had some great moments, and Robby Ashford's a good player, but it's hard for me to get a great feel for what he's going to be as a quarterback for Auburn based on last year. The second thing I would say there is, what are your expectations for 2023? Do you want to win 8 games? Do you want to win 10 games? What do you expect from this team? And I think your expectations then go hand in hand with how you feel about Robby Ashford. The sample size is small. But even with that being said, I don't know that Robby Ashford's winning you 10 games next year. I'd love to be wrong. They probably need to build more out around him. But based on what I saw, 10 games would be a stretch. Now, winning 8 games, I think Robby Ashford can do that for you. I really do. A lot of this is dependent on what's around him, but I do think 8 games is realistic. Needs some help on defense, but I don't think it's out of the question. Auburn has not, to this point of us being live with the transfer portal closing tomorrow, taken a transfer quarterback. And the reason why that's confusing to me just a little bit is because with all of the things that we just talked about that they don't have on the roster, all of the talent they don't have in-house right now, they're still acquiring, and they're going to revamp it and get it going. They're going to rebuild that house. But right now, they don't have it. So how do you account for that? How do you even the playing field? You go and get a stud quarterback. Is Robby Ashford that? He might be. But why not go get somebody else in the portal to push the needle forward, to push him forward from a competition standpoint? I'm confused by it so far. I would keep an eye on the quarterback position. Whether he's going to be your starter or not day one, I don't know. But at least go and get somebody for the spring part of for fall camp, to help the competitive level, to have somebody else on that roster to help you if he does go down. And we hope that doesn't happen, but injuries are part of the game. It's good to have some sort of built-in insurance in your room, in your depth chart. So that was confusing to me. We'll see if they address that in the offseason, I guess in fall season, post-spring season. Keep an eye on the quarterback position. They like Robby Ashford, would be confused if they don't add somebody else to the mix there. So we've given an honest assessment here so far, and I don't want to sound like I'm down on Auburn, because I am not down on the Auburn Tigers. I think you've got the right head coach, and I think the fact that you're Auburn, quite frankly, the fact you have the resources, the branding, you're in the SEC, there's so much Auburn has going for them to where they could flip it here, I think, pretty quickly. How quickly, I don't know. But I think the future at Auburn is very bright. Because right now in college football, what works for you is talent acquisition, and talent acquisition requires NIL. I say right now in college football, always in college football. That's the way it's been. You get good players, you have a really good chance to win a lot of games. And what's frustrating about Auburn is, if you're a fan, you know they've had the ability to be successful. It's never been a matter of can they. It's a matter of will they. And it felt like during the Brian Harsin era, the mechanism just wasn't working. I say mechanism, the relationship or the working relationship, whatever it was between Brian Harsin, Auburn administration, Auburn powers that be with the boosters, they weren't synced up. They weren't pushing the same direction. That's unfortunate, but it's like trying to pedal a bike with the chain off of the pedal. You know what I'm talking about. Whenever the chain falls off the pedal and you're just pedaling as hard as you can, but guess what? If it's not linked up to the chain, the wheels aren't going to move, y'all. The mechanism's not going to work correctly. You're not going to go anywhere. It's going to be frustrating. That's what it's felt like for Auburn throughout the course of the last however many months. Now, I believe they have corrected that. They put the chain back on the pedal. They got things working in the right direction. It takes a second, but it's like riding a bike. You got the right leadership. You have the right resources. Push them the same direction, Auburn could flip this thing quickly. In the world of college football, it is impossible to speak in terms of absolutes because you're dealing with the variance of 18 and 22-year-olds. It's just the way that it is. And so Auburn could flip it very quickly. Got to continue to be active in the transfer portal and be excited about Robby Ashford, or swing big and find a way to get another big-time player in the transfer portal for your quarterback spot. Again, that to me is married to what are your expectations. Robby Ashford could be great. I think Hugh gives him the best chance to be successful. So we'll keep an eye on that. But again, the future at Auburn is very, very bright. Currently under construction, but if it's one thing that Auburn has, it's resources, and it is an effort to push their program forward. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.